Excellent. And we just need to make sure that chat is enabled as well for participants. And with my time, it's 3 minutes past. So let's get going, and I'm sure that we will get more people joining us as we go. I'd like to start this session. Welcome. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea, and community. I'd also like to pay my respect to the elders past, present, and emerging, and extend my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people throughout Australia and all that are present with us on this call. I am connecting from the Brisbane office, which is on the land of Turrbal and Yagara people. So special acknowledgement of them. Thank you very much for joining us on this call. It's our absolute pleasure to be speaking with you on how you can optimize your ongoing support for your PeopleSoft systems using the Oracle guided learning. In terms of agenda, I'll start by introducing our panelists. We will hear from Oracle about what is Oracle guided learning. I'll give us a bit of intro about the digital adoption and the human factor that is there. Then we'll hear from Oracle about the Oracle guided learning. What is Oracle guided learning? Then we'll hear from Kaiser Permanente, and we are really grateful. We're privileged to have Alison from Kaiser Permanente, because Kaiser Permanente is one of the largest PeopleSoft healthcare customers globally, and they have been using Oracle guided learning since 2018. So it's great to hear it right from a customer who has been using it for so long. Alison is also going to give us a live demo of how this Oracle guided learning works. In terms of the panelists, I'm Shirin Jamorani. I'm a digital adoption specialist here at Deloitte. I have had 2 decades of experience working in higher education, and the best way that I always explain my role, because I work in the change area, the best way that I always explain my role is I work with the organizations and the project team. While the project team is preparing a digital solution for the organization, I help the impacted people within the organization and prepare them for the adoption of that digital solution. So with that comes all the communication and engagement and training. In terms of my passion, if I have to pick one relevant to this webinar, my passion has always been finding innovative tools to empower training teams to have more impactful and efficient training. Jason, did you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you, Sharon, and thanks for the invitation today to speak with everybody on the call. It's really great to be doing it together. So, yeah, Jason Mathias is my name. I've been working in IT education now also for over 20 years, and it's quite remarkable how much things have changed in that time. You know, many of those years I've been working here at Oracle, for the last 5 or 6 years, focused almost entirely on guided learning. And I guess if you talk about passion and what motivates me and drives me, I actually love change. I think change is what keeps it all fresh. I love learning every day. And certainly, in my job, I get to meet new customers every day in different industries, and bringing these new learning solutions to them is really motivating for me. And seeing the results has been a great thing over the past few years. So I look forward to speaking more today.
Thank you. Alison. And you're mute.
Sorry, I had to come off mute.
Sure.
Well, good morning where you are at. And I'm so glad to be here. I am a director at Kaiser Permanente on the OneLink program. OneLink is the branded name for Kaiser Permanente's Oracle implementation and its entire ecosystem. So we have a lot of other applications that are connected to PeopleSoft, and so we call all of that OneLink. And since I've been with Kaiser Permanente since 2006, And I implemented PeopleSoft across all markets, and we have 16 modules in production, which includes several bolt-ons. And since 2018, I have been responsible for the sustaining model of training and change management for Kaiser Permanente's OneLink solution, primarily using the guided learning application. And as noted here, in 2021, Kaiser Permanente was awarded the PeopleSoft Innovators Award for its use of guided learning with PeopleSoft. And so my passion, I guess if everybody wanted to identify a passion, is I really am passionate about users adopting the systems, using them correctly so that the organization can get the value out of those systems that they had intended to get out of it. So that's my passion, and training and change obviously is very key to that level of success.
Thank you, Alison. So very briefly, talking about the human factors that determine your return on investment with any digital solution. And I love that image because it captures the essence of it. It would be quite naive to think that if we put all our attention to prepare the perfect digital solution, and if the system is solid, we'll get all the return on investment. Because at the end of the day, there are people who should be using that system. And if that solid handshake between technology and people does not happen, then we would not get that return on investment. And that solid handshake, when I'm talking about that, I'm actually talking about the speed of adoption. How quickly are people up and running on the new system? How many people are using the new system? We were hoping for everybody to use the system, and now we are saying, okay, only 50%, 60% are using the system. And those people who are using the system, how well are they performing their task compared to what we had expected the system will provide the solution for? So when we look at that, there are basically two elements that we are looking at in terms of change management. We're looking at that initial communication and engagement, that people were engaged. They knew what the system is doing, how they are going to help them, and also the training factor. We all know that as soon as we want to introduce a digital system, the first thing that the training team here is, how am I going to know how to use the system? And most of the resistance comes from a place of, am I going to lose my SME status? Am I going to lose my efficiency? So training becomes front and center there. And that becomes kind of a deal breaker, whether or not you would have a successful implementation of system or not. Before going on, we want to hear from you and see what has been your experience on the digital solutions that you have been implementing, and particularly talking about PeopleSoft. We are going to have this Menti for you. Matteo, thank you for the reminder. That was what? Note for the housekeeping. Please do use the chat function. We will try to answer as many questions as we can, but if it doesn't happen, we are going to consolidate all the questions and send out the responses with the recording of the session within 48 hours. So if you have a smartphone, you can scan the QR code, or Matteo, if you could please put that URL in chat as well, if you are more comfortable going to the website. Great, thank you. And we'll wait a few seconds for people to actually log into Menti. There are 5 simple questions. I promised it's not really soul-searching questions. Okay. If you can log in. Excellent. So if you could go to the first question. So this is even before thinking about PeopleSoft. Think about how has the hybrid workplace model challenged your employee training and delivery methods? Yeah, absolutely. We need more digital training forms, because gone are the days that everybody was in the office. We could ask them to leave their computers, come to the training room. Yes, and with that comes difficulty of organizing in-person training. Oh, I like these answers. If you came late, that was the QR code for you, and the link is in the chat anyway. So remote workers miss out on opportunities to ask a colleague, definitely, because the training team always relies on the fact that if there is one hero within the team, everybody can go and ask them. And now they cannot do that. Yes, they can reach out to the person through chat, through Teams, Slack, and other ways, but it's not as authentic. Good, thank you. We're getting some good answers. So think about your current training challenges. Now we're thinking about PeopleSoft Suite in particular. So what are some of the current challenges that you're facing? Let's see. We are not getting any answers on this. Let's wait another few seconds. Oh, we are. Oh, yes, absolutely. Hard to navigate. Think about the reasons help desk tickets are raised. If you have had a chat with your help desk people, what are the times that they roll their eyes and say, yet again, that question? Yeah, it is not sustainable. Yep. And it is not sustainable probably for the reasons that we saw in the previous question. Yeah, absolutely. Help desk tickets. It has come to a point that with each new technology being introduced or new module being introduced, there need to be a dedicated help desk person for that. Yes, hard to get value. Yep. And that is the return on investment that we were talking about. Oh, I love these answers coming through. The interactive training, and I'm guessing that it is the lack of interactive training. I'm guessing we have some people with training background there, because many of these answers really hit home for me. I have had the experience of working with training teams for over 2 decades. So yeah, excellent. Let's have another 3 seconds on this question, and then we can move to the next. Yeah, some generic webinars doesn't give answer to the specific questions that you want. Perfect. Let's see the next question. So now you have a system up and running, new functionalities and features are released. How do you communicate it across your population? People who are using the system, how do they get to know that there is new functionality? Maybe with that comes new training, maybe just a matter of being aware. How do you communicate that within your organization? Yes, email. Yes, Word documents, word of mouth. Yes, oftentimes we rely on the word of mouth because people do not necessarily open the email unless it is from one manager up and they say, well, there's something serious there. Yeah, training material. So there is a need for constant updating of training material and then communicating it. Because when we're talking about training, there are 3 elements in that. Identifying the requirements for the training, then designing the training, and then delivering and implementing it. Great. Word of mouth, word of mouth. Demo sessions, yes. Again, we go back with demo sessions to question 1, hybrid environment. How does the demo sessions work? Excellent. Yes, wiki, new training material. Doodly, yes. Video overviews, excellent. Okay, let's see the next question. So how do you communicate work-related messages? This is not necessarily a functionality that has been upgraded or a feature, generally speaking. So for a moment, forget about PeopleSoft. How do you communicate people messages that are relevant to them only? So we have Teams meeting, yes, we have emails, login messages, excellent. Newsletter, no one is using newsletters. And we threw no communications there because, believe it or not, I have seen examples when they say, well, there is no way that we can reach people. They will notice it. We will rely on their bodies. So emails and team meetings. Excellent. So email is coming quite strong. And let's see, with the method that you're using, how effective do you find them? So whichever method that you use, how do you find them? The effect could be better. Good. Okay. Yeah, not effective. We have seen it throughout different organizations a lot. You do your best, but there are still pockets of the organization that they never get that information. And that loops back to help desk tickets. Good, could be better, could be better, excellent. So you're in the good place. We'll show you how it can be better with Oracle guided learning. Yeah, could be better. So if we can go back to the slides, and you will see that what you see in front of you kind of captures your answers as well. So it should be a bit soothing knowing that you are not the only one. This is what our research throughout organizations has shown us. With the traditional approaches, training approaches, and I'm defining for the purpose of this webinar, I'm defining traditional training approaches as when the training team, and my solidarity and passion is always with the training team. So they have identified training requirements, and they have developed training material in the form of quick reference guides, frequently asked questions, short videos, cheat sheets, UPKs, online material, you name it. So they try to create it just in time. So just before a new functionality is released, the training will be delivered to people. There could be workshops. They could be people being encouraged to shadow and mentor each other. I can see hands being raised. It would be great if you put the questions in chat, and we'll get to that. But with all that, what we have identified that when a user, one of your people, gets to the computer and wants to finish a task, they cannot really find contextualized guidance. So they are going through their work and they get stuck. They need to stop work and go identify the training artifact that would answer it. It could be a quick reference guide or a video or any other format. Plus, they might not even find the information there, because in order for us to complete a task, there might be policies that we need to refer to. There might be off-system work instructions that we need to be aware of. So all that creates a very disjointed learning and work experience. And because of that, not only the user becomes disheartened, the efficiency drops, but also we can see a spike in the desk support tickets. And oftentimes we see that the training material is that, but the user did not have the time or patience to go and identify it. It was much easier to just log an issue or blame it on the system. This is what we oftentimes see. And with all that training artifact that we have, one of the problems is, and that is what the training team can never put their fingers down and say, I have accurate statistics, I have analytics as to how people are using these guides. Whether the problem is with the guides, we need to improve them, or people not coming to the guides. So I think I have set the scene enough for all of us to know where we are. We have a common challenge. And now with the introduction of Oracle Guided Learning, this is an initiative that we are introducing to PeopleSoft users. And Addison has already been doing it for years and years. I think it is a good time to bring our panelists in. I've been mentioning Oracle Guided Learning quite a few times now. But Jason, maybe I start with you. What is Oracle Guided Learning?
Thank you, Sharon. So Oracle Guided Learning, or OGL for short, it's what's actually known as a digital adoption platform. And it's what is called a cloud service now. It's actually delivered, from one of the Oracle data centers. And it actually provides in-application guidance or messages and information to system users in real time, right? So for us, it's really what we think is the future of learning. It addresses all of those challenges that you had on that last slide. It's about getting people to adopt things more quickly, get what they need right then and there. And, the phrase that we often see is it helps people to learn in the flow of work, right? So it's all of those things, really.
Yeah. What was the story of Oracle Guided Learning? Why did you introduce it in the first place? Was it a demand from the customers, or you identified a gap? Sure.
So Oracle University, had been transforming itself for quite a number of years. And we started this with, we picked up our classroom training for administrators around, and we digitized it and we made it available online. But there was a gap because the end users of our systems were all ignored. And, when I say ignored, there was those traditional approaches that you mentioned, but we didn't think that was really addressing the way people wanted to learn. And about 6 years ago, we noticed a couple of new innovative solutions starting to appear, which were the first, iterations of the digital adoption platforms. And, we were very interested. And so we put a team together and we started investigating all this. And we were lucky enough to be able to go out and acquire a startup company out of Israel called Iridize, who had created what became the backbone of the guided learning solution today. And so, in the last 6 years, we've literally aligned that product with our, corporate product development teams and roadmaps. And, what you will see today is the evolution of that. But it really was, how do we address the needs of the modern learner? Right? They want to learn right now, right here, right where we are. So that was really why it came about.
Great. Do you use it at Oracle yourself, or it's only for customers?
Oh, absolutely. Personally, I got a little frustrated at the beginning because I was advocating that we should be using it internally. And then, before I knew it, it started appearing in a whole bunch of our different systems. And, I sort of try to keep account of how many it's in. I've counted at least 12 different systems at the moment that we're using it on. So, we currently use it on our goal and performance management. We use it in procurement, expense management, learning cloud, our sales tools. And we've got a huge amount of other, custom built applications using Oracle PaaS technology, Apex, things like that. And guided learning's on many of those. We use it to communicate system changes, policy changes, to provide tours around the applications. We're one of those organizations who rarely do any product training, right? It's very self-service culture, and it's becoming more and more pervasive. So, for me, it's very satisfying when I see those things. I probably get a little too excited sometimes, but I think it's pretty cool when we're actually using our own Oracle systems with our own Oracle learning platform on top of it. So it is used quite widely. And I think on the next slide, we've even, published a case study about the success we had deploying that on our HCM Mateo, if you just want to go to that next slide, we'd pushed out goal and performance management with HCM at Oracle, and it was being used widely, literally by over 100,000 people. But those typical challenges that we talked about just before were all present. We did get training from the HR team. We did have videos. We did have quick reference guides and everything. But you'd log into the system, and the training was a week ago, and you forgot how to do it. And you went to a field and you didn't know what value to put in there. So there was still a huge number of SRs being raised, a huge amount of content need to be created. And what was really brilliant was they baselined all of that before they implemented guided learning. And you can see the results here. It was quite staggering. 70% reduction in the number of tickets during review time for goal and performance management. 130,000 people did it. And look, I don't want to take too much time, but there is a case study of this online and a recorded video that talks about it too. So, we're not just pushing this out to market. We are truly using this internally ourselves. And, I'm really pleased to also see that into other systems like PeopleSoft. Our focus within Oracle for a number of years was just in the cloud application space, because that's where Oracle's strategic direction had been. But, Kaiser was one of the first customers who said, well, yeah, look, we're going to use it on our HCM, but we also want to use it in these other places. Can you do that? Which I think is a really great segue over to Alison now. So
yeah, but I have one last question for you, Jason. It's actually always a great sign when people use their own products, because then you would always strive to make it better on a daily basis. So that is a great sign. What is the overall feedback that you have had from your customers?
Yeah, look, I guess for me, results speak louder than words. Just in the last few weeks, we've now clocked over 1,000 customers using Oracle guided learning on Oracle products. Right, so that's a lot of customers when you think about it, 1,000. And it took us a little while, but we do now have many referenceable customers as well across many industries, in many different countries. We've got a lot of case studies written up. There's a lot of recorded webinars where you can go and listen to other people talking. So it's going from strength to strength, and it's getting, Oracle's such a big place that even people within Oracle still don't know what it is. But as soon as they all hear about it and see it, there's genuine excitement about pushing it out to market. So it's like one of those things that because we all know about it, we think everyone does, right? It's sort of, we're always way ahead of the curve because we're pushing it out. But I love spreading the word and talking to more people. So it's been very successful so far.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you. And yeah, it would be a great time now to switch to Alison. She has been using it for a while now. And before I start my conversation with Alison, please do use chat. I can see that questions coming through Q&A as well. So Alison, you have been using OGL, Oracle Guided Learning, for a while. Why? What motivated you to change from your traditional way? And what was the traditional way to move into Oracle Guided Learning?
Oh, it was a very traditional way of training at Kaiser Permanente for our OneLink program, because over a period of basically from 2009 to 2017, we were in implementation mode. So we were implementing different modules in different markets continuously. And so we had basically traditional classroom training for those new user audiences. And as a sustaining model, we utilized the UPK, the User Productivity Kit. And we, at the end of 2017, when we had done all of our implementations, we had about 1,200 UPK guides. And the training team was going to be skinnied down considerably because we were no longer in this implementation mode. And so we needed to look at something that was more efficient to maintain and also more effective, because the UPKs really weren't that effective. The data was not, it was some value that was not necessarily relevant to that market, or the particular type of ePro requisition that the person was trying to create. So it just so happened that we had looked at WalkMe, which is an alternative digital adoption tool. We, meaning the OneLink program, had started looking at that. And simultaneously, our HR partners were starting their journey to the HR cloud, HCM cloud, and Oracle Guided Learning was embedded in that. And so they said, hey, look at Oracle Guided Learning. And we said it makes sense, since we are moving to a digital adoption tool, to have the same user experience across. Basically, there's 3 enterprise applications at Kaiser Permanente: HR, OneLink, which is finance and supply chain, PeopleSoft finance and supply chain, and email. All the other applications are not enterprise-wide. So we felt like definitely wanted to have a consistent user experience across those 2 large enterprise-wide applications. So that's really what motivated us to move to guided learning.
Thank you. And now I'm interested to know how many guides, how many Oracle Guided Learning guides you have. And I remember once I asked you this question and you very subtly corrected me and said, hey, Shirin, that is not the correct question, because a guide people think of end-to-end, but there's so many different features.
Right.
And you sent me the, Matteo, if we go to the next slide. So did you want to talk about that?
Sure. So process guides really are those typically end-to-end, step-by-step guides for a whole transaction, like create an expense report as an owner or a preparer. And so we have 339 of those. But there's all these other features in Oracle Guided Learning. So there's smart tips, which are just little question marks next to fields that you hover over and they give additional information. Those can be in guides, and they can also be outside of the process guides. We have 56, and I would say the majority of those are persistent on pages outside of the process guides. There's message guides, which are pop-ups. And so those provide an opportunity to give more information than a smart tip. That generally they also are, we use those when we're introducing new features, new functions, policy changes. So they're kind of in the person's face, where they're right there. They have to interact with them. You can have them be persistent, or you can have them pop up 1, 2, 3, X number of times that the user visits that page. So we use that extensively. Display groups, and I'm going to do a little demo later so that it'll be more understandable, but display groups are just like little containers within guided learning for you to group information. So we have one for support, we have one for training, we have one for the guides, we have one for something called task list. So you can have as many of those as you want, and they just extend Oracle Guided Learning widget to give the user more of a one-stop shop for not just Oracle guides, but for other collateral within your organization. Task lists are basically a way to group process guides or other collateral into a step-by-step, into a kind of like a checklist. So for example, cycle counts is, 10 or 11 steps to create a cycle count. And those steps are not only in PeopleSoft, they're in our handheld application. And then there's pre and post steps that you do outside of any application. So it collects all of that information together and presents it in the Oracle Guided Learning widget. Miscellaneous, we have beacons, which kind of flash. We use those links within a guide or within a flash tip or a smart tip that go to policies or other collateral. So guides aren't real good if it's kind of like an if-then situation. So for example, purchase order acknowledgements, right? There's a lot of if it's this, then you do that. So we have some steps within the guide, but we also link out to a more detailed job aid that gives that if-then matrix. There's great analytics within Oracle Guided Learning. We're going to just look at a dashboard that we produce from those metrics, and that's just a little slice of the analytics that we capture every month. And then launchers are like the message guides, except for they only pop up when a user selects a field or a drop down, a link, something of that nature. So it's not always in the user's face. It's very context sensitive to the action that the user is taking within the application.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and there's a few other features that aren't listed here because they're only available in the cloud. So there are a few limitations between the cloud and the the classic PeopleSoft ERP system. But if you're using Oracle Cloud, you even get a couple additional features for Oracle Guided Learning. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
So Alison, I think without any further ado, we would love to see how it actually works.
So this is the Oracle Guided Learning widget, and we actually have a little, a user made this suggestion to us, and they're like, why don't you tell people what it is? And so we added this little little smart tip that tells what the widget is. So when you click that, you get, just want to make sure I don't have anything blocking it. You get, this opens up. Now, well, this is our training environment. So I see everything in trained. So you see this little thing, test, and a big, long list of guides. But in production, I only see the guides for the functionality that I have access to in production. So it's a much shorter list, and it's looks prettier. But so as I mentioned, the display groups, this is a group that's just guides. This is a group that is for support. So we link if people have a question, or if they want to open a product or solution request, or if they want to change their default business unit. That's a self-service activity that they can do. So again, and in production, we have more things here, but just for you to get a flavor. And then we have training, where we have links to other training collateral. Right now, this is just for suppliers. That takes them to the supplier website where we have collateral for them. And then finally, we have task lists. I mentioned these, and here's I'll just pop into the cycle count task list. So as you can see, there's a lot in here, and there's the first thing I've clicked on. And so you can see it gives a lot of information, links people out of to checklists. But when you get to basically step 2, creating a cycle account, then it takes you into a guide for creating a cycle count event. So yeah, that's just a quick little thing. But I'm going to go to home, and I'm going to go all the way through one guide end to end, so you can see that without further ado. So I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to search. The search is keyword sensitive. You can specify as many keywords as you want. And I'm going on vacation, and I need to assign someone to approve my ePro requests and my expense reports, all those things that come to me for approval. And so I don't remember how to do that. So I'm going to use this guide. So I search for the guide, I select the guide. We have just a little intro to all of our guides, and then we get started. So it tells me first to click the nav bar. So I'm going to do that. And then, oh, this guy's kind of in my way. So I'm going to move it over out of my way for now. Now it tells me to click Navigator. And this is a nice little feature. Where I need to go is way down this menu. So if I click next, it's going to automatically scroll down to where I need. And it's going to tell me now to select my system profile. And when I get in here, this is a smart tip. I think I mentioned smart tips. So it's just telling people, hey, don't just pick any NUID. That alternate approval must have FDA over the submitter's GL string. That's just specific to Kaiser Permanente, but that's an example of a smart tip. And it's telling me to click the to find an alternate user ID, or if I know the NUID, I can just type it in there. I'm going to just search, and I'm going to Z100 is, there we go. I'm going to pick that one, and then it's spinning. Sorry, this is the training environment. What's going on here? I did that. Oh, I didn't come back down here. Let's see. Search, I did that. Sorry, I'm having a little problem here. Sometimes when you're talking and doing, you get into a little thing. Well, I don't know what happened. It should have given me some more steps here to go to the from date and the to date. And I apologize for that, and then give to the save. But again, this is a train environment, so sometimes things get a little kludgy. But
Alison, we get
yes.
that sometimes as well, because in real life, we do it slower to put in the information, but when we quickly click, the audio cannot catch up with us.
Right. Anyway, so I'm going to show you something else. So I do not want to save my changes. So, and I am going to go to basically back to my widget. Come in. And I am going to search for expense. I'm going to create an expense report as an owner preparer. And oh dear, it's really acting up here. And you know what, this is, wouldn't you know this is the case, because I came in here and I ran through and tested all this earlier today, and it just wants to be gnarly. So I'm not going to go to the expense guide, but the same thing is going to show up when I go in here. And this is, oh, now the guide's interacting. This is an example of a flash tip. And this informed Kaiser users of a policy change back in January. I just reactivated this here in the train environment so you could see it. So it highlights the policy changes. It links to the policy and gives people some information on where they can get some additional help. And this flash tip showed up for 3 times after users logged in, anytime after January 6, 2023. Now, some users, don't create expense reports that often, so they maybe haven't even seen this flash tip and won't see it till they log in sometime later in the year. So it looks like our guide did pop in here. So I'm going to take a few just little steps because I want to show something here. So this is called a branch. And I just wanted to show you that. So here, if I am preparing this expense report on behalf of someone else, I have different pathway to go down versus if I'm preparing the expense report for myself. So just wanted to show a quick little example of a guide that the assigning the alternate approver just went immediately, straight down, no branches, but this one here gives branches. So I think you should probably have a pretty good flavor for that. So I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the other parts of the presentation. So, and again, I do apologize that it wasn't as smooth as it was when I did my.
It's all good. It was a training environment.
Yeah, and it without fail, it always happens when you're presenting like at some type of a conference or something that it decides to act up.
What is a webinar without a technology glitch? So we are a complete webinar, which is great.
Yes.
Alison, one of the questions that we often get, and I might need you to go back to your environment again, is what if we have seasoned users and they don't want to launch a guide and start going step by step because they know where they're going. But as an organization, you have identified pain points. So they get to a page, they get stuck. So what is the deal then? Should they go back and start the Oracle guided learning for that guide, or there are other ways that we can help them out?
Well, that's why we try to use the smart tips and the launchers
Yes.
for where where we know that users have had issues, where we've had support tickets come in, where we've gotten feedback. There is, when you're in the cloud, when you have a Oracle Cloud application and you're using guided learning, so those are some of the features that I didn't can't report out on because we can't use them. They have basically more contextual help. So you can start a guide from where you're at. Whereas when you are in the Oracle PeopleSoft ERP application interacting with Oracle Guided Learning, you have to start at the beginning and go step by step if you're going to do a guide. Now, we have gotten around that in a couple ways when we were rolling out new functionality, and it was just a change to some pages and some steps. We basically created a guide that was essentially a checklist that they could go, they had to get to the page, and once they got to the page, it had a checklist for everything they needed to do on the page, sort of like a flash tip, but it was a guide step. You know, so everything that they needed to do, all the changes on that page were basically, they could see that when they were on the page and they could work through it. So that was just kind of a creative solution to that inability not to, you know, have that contextual starts in the ERP system. But you'll see we get a lot of usage despite whatever shortcomings, you know, the guided learning has. It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And one of the things that I really love about Oracle Guided Learning is how flexible it is. And the fact that it is not quote unquote in the user's face. It doesn't overwhelm the user. You gave us examples when the smart tip is there. If they have a question, they hover their mouse, it comes up. Or with some of the soft messaging, it's hidden only when they hover their mouse, it comes up. And also the example that you showed us, that it is extremely configurable. You can say with this message, only show it within, I don't know, the first 3 times that a new user logs in, or only show it within these, I don't know, time period. It's a great way of showing if there is a system upgrade or, I don't know, an outage, so you can send the communication through the system. But now that we have it here, because that was actually my next question, we have been saying that Oracle Guided Learning is amazing and it is good and it actually supports the training team because they still need to do their training need analysis and development, just the way that send out the messaging. But how do you measure success? How do you know that your guides are successful?
Yeah, so every month we track the guides that are used, the guides that are viewed. So sometime when we first started implementing Oracle Guided Learning, and we would have a lot of people, and it's still the case, they start a guide, but they don't finish the guide. And we were like, oh no, they don't like it. And actually a lot of people, they just need to get started. Sometimes it's only they've just forgotten the navigation, right? Like that one I showed you, you know, nav bar, navigator, you scroll all the way down to, you know, my system profile. So we also look at just, you know, the guides that were started, but not finished. That's what guide views are. We look at unique users and we actually trend, like if we see like a user that's using it a lot, the guided learning, then we reach out to them and ask for feedback. And that's been really valuable. We look at the top trending guides for both our employees and our suppliers. We have a supplier portal. We use the PeopleSoft supplier portal for a number of functionalities. And that's an audience, like how do you train suppliers, right? You don't even know, like they're self-registering and they're getting on there and they're using it. You don't even know their users. So our supplier guides are used heavily, and we also trend the supply users as well. We look at unique flash tips and unique smart tips viewed to see what people are looking at. We also look at what support and training links are selected. We're always adding support and training links to that list. And then we also look at the task list usage. And actually, if you could go back one slide, Matteo, because I want to just point something out. You see, this is the overall usage over the year. These are specific, things. And you see this spike. We have these two spikes. I want to talk about this. This first spike was in September, which is when we do our annual PeopleSoft image updates. We do 4 image updates every year, and we do a PeopleSoft upgrade every other year. We just do the PeopleSoft, PeopleTool upgrade every other year and patches the alternate year. So, so we introduced, a bunch of new features in September of last year, and we used guided learning to support that feature introduction. And then this other spike that we have is when we did a major change to our FDA, which is Funds Disbursement Authorization, which is how managers, directors, etc. at Kaiser Permanente are given authority to approve spend on Kaiser Permanente's behalf. So, this is, for me, a measurement of success. We see these 2 major change points during the year where our guide usage, spikes significantly. So, okay, yeah.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just conscious of time. We have 3 minutes left, and I'm keen for you to show us the dashboard that you mentioned.
Okay. So this is just screenshots of the Oracle Analytics tool, and so this is the dashboard. And so again, looking at the guides used, guide views, et cetera. I just want to talk about a couple of things that we have seen in the data. So when we introduced fluid expenses, which was back in 2021, we had a 500% increase in the expense-related guides. The guide use is 500% from the month before when we were using Classic to the month after when we were using Fluid. And the expense guides are always in the top 20, always trending in the top 20. We introduced the Fluid payment request back in that same time period. And within the first 3 months of introducing that new functionality, we got rid of our paper check request process. The guides were used over 1,000 times in 3 months. And that, check request for payment page function, those guides are always in our top 10, if not the top 5, month after month after month. So we know the value of guided learning because those are the casual audiences. Our purchasing guides, our GL guides, our asset guides, we created guides for those. Those do not have a lot of usage because that's a stable audience. It's a skilled audience, but our casual users definitely get great value from guided learning, and the analytics tell that story.
Great. Thank you. And I love the power of analytics because it takes the guesswork out of the equation. You know exactly what you're dealing with, where you need to focus on, where extra need is needed. So as a training team, you will get all the support and scaffolding that you need. So we are coming to the end of this webinar. Genuinely, thank you for joining the webinar and giving us the opportunity to share with you the joy of Oracle guided learning. The session was recorded, so we will send you the webinar recording. If there were questions in chat that we didn't get to answer, we would consolidate all the answers. Or between now and Friday, if you have any questions, that is my email address. If you can shoot me an email, and we would put those questions and answers in the list as well. If after this webinar, you're curious enough and you want to know more about the Oracle guided learning for your PeopleSoft systems, please reach out. That is my name and email address. We can definitely organize a more customized demo for your organization, and then we can give you more insight into it. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you to our panelists. Really grateful for your time and joining. Alison, that is the end of the day for you. Thank you very much.
I got some pizza waiting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.